Morning. Okay, I don't know how this is going to work out. I don't go live from my computer. I don't go live from my computer. I always go live from my phone. And for some reason, nothing's connecting. So we just find the antidote, find the solution, and work it out. So I'm coming live in here on Facebook Land on my page, and we'll just go from there. So I have put for my title today again, the lies I would never tell my children again as a mom, right? And I left an industry, a broken millionaire. I was in the entertainment industry for 17 and a half years, and that's one of the lies I told people. I said that I was an entertainer, and nobody ever questioned it. They never even asked me what that was. And if you go back to my YouTube channel and you click on the links, there will be stories about this whole progression of life in there on leaving the adult entertainment industry, a topless nightclub. I worked at that for 17 and a half years. And the consequences of, that job has really created a lot of different things in our lives. And not to say that, my oldest son yesterday would have been 42 years old. So there was a celebration of life for him yesterday. My daughter put it together. He used to love to go to a bar in the city that we've lived in for the last 33 years. And they went, and family and friends all came together and did, amazing. And I'm going to see if I can, I need to expand on this, you guys. Hold on. I don't know what to do here. Okay, well, we'll work on it. I don't know. Oh my gosh. Well, this is great. So we can do that too. Oh, this is pretty cool. Awesome. All right. So, so celebrating my son's life. And one of the lies I told myself was when he passed away and life like handed me a major storm, there was no this too shall pass. Like I felt like that was going to be in the middle of it and I was never going to leave that dark place. And life literally handed me a whole set of major life experiences that one should never have to endure in an entire lifetime that I got to experience in an 8-month period of time. And here I am now evolving and growing and sharing and telling you that whatever's going on in your life, really this too shall pass. So that was a lie that I told myself too. And I'm going for the beliefs that I used to tell my kids too, right? And some of the beliefs that I've even learned as an adult, and the things that we, now are sharing with my grandkids. And I was like, no. And they're very impressionable right now, and they're very, very vulnerable. And this is a time where when we talk about grooming kids, like I didn't even know what that meant. And I'm like, grooming them, oh my gosh. Like, so grooming, like I've heard in a really, really super negative, connotation in areas of other people's lives. And I was like, oh no, you know what though? We even do it, with our own children and with my grandkids, like, right. So we teach them our beliefs. We teach them, or they hear things, learn things from, social media, watching TV, watching the cartoons, like all these things. And we just have to really just be very diligent on being truthful. Like what really can be the truth. Because there are a lot of different truths. Like for an example, when I was in 11th grade, this is really crazy, you guys. So I come from a Midwestern state. I moved to California. I'm there living with my dad, my real dad. And I went to a high school, and the high school that I went to, they had a huge big riot the year before. The black kids versus the white kids, like it was a major deal. And I come from a Midwestern state where it's predominantly white. However, there was a lot of Native Americans there, and they lived on the other side of the state. So I really didn't have privy to this whole nation, right? And so I became really, really great best friends with, I just love her to this day. Like she doesn't even know it. And if she ever watches this by chance, like her name is Belinda. And I freaking love this girl. Me and her were like the bestie friends through the whole summer. I met her at summer school. And we went back to school in the fall into 11th grade. And the kids were just, I'm a brand new girl, coming to a school and find out that there's all of this prejudice going on, something I've never even been around. And I was like, wow. And I was basically told that I could not run around with her or I was going to start a riot in this school again. And it was to me just like one of the most abhorrent things ever. And we had to do that though. Like we had to do it for the sake of the school, for the sake of all our friends. And it was really, really awful. And I thought, wow, the lies we tell ourselves, that, all these things, right? Somebody else's beliefs instilled on us and there's just all this hatred. Well, because I was able to experience that, I learned that I didn't like history at all. Like I knew right then and there that history was not being taught how it was supposed to be taught, and that we weren't getting the whole story, and that there were literally really, and just certain people that wrote certain books, so there was certain things that were said and there was a lot of omission, right? So this is where a lot of bullying and hatred, all these things start coming through. And Facebook, I apologize, if this is a thing. I'm just trying to make a point about lies, right? Because we believe in things, we tell ourselves lies, or we hear things, and these are the things that are instilled in us. And so that was a moment when I decided that I'm not going to, I didn't care if I passed history class or not, because I knew it wasn't being taught right. So moving further ahead, I now have kids. I now have my children. And it was the greatest thing. So again, I'm living in a Midwestern town. My best friend is black. We're like best friends. We're like sisters. And my kids now have been around her for a few years. We now moved from one Midwestern state to the next state, to Minnesota, this is where I got to work for 17 and a half years. And my middle one comes home from school one day, and he looks up at because we had moved together. So she's helping me, take care of my kids, and, we're just helping each other, and we're helping each other to grow all these things, right? And we're like sisters. And so he comes home from school one day, second grader, and my girlfriend Stephanie, she's like, not my partner, is my girlfriend. Okay, I just want to be clear about this. And she's standing in the kitchen and she's cleaning something, and I'll never forget, my son looked up at her and he said, "Are you black?" And we both were like, "What did you just say?" And he asked, he's like, "Are you black?" And it was that moment that we both realized that we never talked about color. Like, never talked about it. It was never a subject that was brought up. I mean, in our two little families, maybe it might have been then, because her family is like so divided on things. It's really cool. But I'm actually like an extended member of their family, like have been for, a few years now. And so it was a really great, enlightening subject. And so, that was a moment too that we realized that, wow, the beliefs that we instill in our kids, right? So it's a taught, it is a learned behavior, is a learned thing. So you've got to ask yourself, like, what is it that you want to teach your child, that you can give them the knowledge? Doesn't mean they have to accept it either, but also give them the choice to make decisions about things at a later date. Like right now, between the ages of 0 and 7, like their frontal lobe cortex isn't even working. Like they don't know, they know that they're feeling things, but they don't know what the feels are, right? So that as a parent, or as, whoever's in their life, is explaining to them what that feeling is, so that they can start connecting the brain with their feelings. And I remember, watching my children, and I don't know about you if you have kids or not, but I've always found it very fascinating that when you see the light bulb go off in them, right? It is like the most glorifying thing ever, and you can just see it. And I'm like, wow. And as we get older, we hear other mentors and coaches and other, friends or, people in our circle. So I can't wait to see you have that light bulb moment. And I'm like, light bulb moment. And I'm like, oh, I'm like, oh yeah, I got to go back to, thinking of, what it looks like for when I watch my grandkids, learn something new and move into, a new direction, and that light bulb moment goes off. It's really very exciting. And so just we can let them know about things, obviously, and I want to be as focused and as positive as I can also. So I used to be so freaking afraid of everything. Like, I had PTSD about everything, and it was instilled on me. I grew up in a family that was very domestic violent. I had, a stepdad at that time that every freaking single weekend, and me and my brother just got into a huge fight about this a couple years ago because I had posted some things on my timeline, and he was really upset about it. However, he didn't finish reading the whole rest of the week because it was really a series. It was just sharing with others that I know that they're not alone, And so anyway, I came from a very domestic violent household. Every Friday through Sunday, my parents would drink, and my stepdad was really great at, doing all the domestic violent things. And me and my brother, my real brother, I have three half brothers, and this is the brother that I'm not, that he has challenges with me, is my stepdad. So anyway, there's just a whole lot that happened, and the timelines and stuff that that I was talking about didn't align with his. Right. And then we got into this huge fight, and there's a screaming match going back and forth, and mostly me screaming. And, I realized that it was my belief about it. Right. It was my experience around all this. And what he didn't know, though, is he was so young, he didn't realize, though, that I left that situation. Like, I left our home, and so many things happened after that. My parents ended up getting divorced. My brothers ended up going into foster care for a little bit, and then they ended up back with my stepdad. My mom, had ran and was in hiding. Like, there's so many things. And it was, it's been all these lies ever since I was a little kid. And so, because I was never really taught or told about my family, like other families, or my family, my real dad actually had wanted to be a part of my life, but it was such a problem for my stepdad that my mom couldn't allow that, because then she would be the brunt of all of his jealousy and all these things, and it was just craziness. And it wasn't until I got way older until I realized that, in those times, my stepdad was doing what he knew. Like, it came from a place of what he knew, and he didn't know how to be any different, and these are the things that happened. And he was an active alcoholic, and so there's just all of this backstory to all sorts of things. And my brother had committed suicide in 1989, and he had left behind two beautiful little girls. He had just got divorced, and there was all these things going on. And so there, and again, and then you don't tell the daughters as they're growing up, truthfully, all the things that happened, because you want to save them from the pain, and you want to save them from the things. And so we all have stories. We all have these things that keep us from doing the things, and it's our pain that holds us back, or it's the this that holds us back, or it happens in our life. And I want to tell you, I don't even know how I've done it so many times to thrive and to just warrior through and to get to the other side and just make a decision that I am not allowing this to keep me in this space. Like, I'm freaking going on, moving out, getting on with my life, and doing the things. And then 12 years ago, life really kicked my tush again. And this time, though, it was my kids. It was, my son had died. My husband had left me for a friend in our group of friends. I found out I had cancer. I had to have a radical hysterectomy. My daughter was pregnant, lost a baby. I have a son that was in prison for unintentional murder. And it all happened in like an 8-month period of time. And the lies I told myself was that, oh my gosh, like, first of all, could not believe that God did that to me. Like, I blamed it on God, because I'm like, wow, if you loved me so much, like, how could you do this to me? And then it came to the point where like now I'm like listening to my friends and like the like my girlfriends, that are married and they have kids and their kids are doing all these really great, amazing things. And then I felt like the biggest freaking loser on the planet. Like I've got nothing good to say about anything. Nothing. Like absolutely freaking nothing. Like my husband left me apparently because it wasn't good enough, because all the things he said that he loved about me, he left me for and then went to somebody else who was doing the exact same things that I had stopped doing. So I'm like, okay. So that was really, really confusing for me. And it's been a continuation of these lies that I've been telling myself that has got me to this point where we're having this conversation, right? So I had to really adjust my crown, adjust the sails, and a really great friend of mine, and oddly we hadn't spoke for a few years, and he had reached out to me during that time of my deepest, darkest depression, my grief, like all the things, and he just wanted me to get my footing back. He just said, let's get you out of bed, let's get your energy back. And I thought he was nuts. I'm like, dude, seriously, like, oh my gosh. I'm like, are you honestly, presenting me with another freaking company? I'm like, I can't even breathe right now. And he's like, no, that's not what I'm doing. Like, let's just get you out of bed. So it was the biggest, most amazing thing he could have done for me, because putting me into that company at the time, I'm in a whole different company right now, so we'll get into that later. But he put me in this company, and what happened was it was the culture of people. They were so uplifting, so inspiring, and what happened was is I was opening up, first of all, to listen to him and to do him the favor, right? Because he had done so many things for me and my family, especially for Jesse, my son, who was in a wheelchair, and was really helping him to get to another place. And Jesse was just too sick. And Ben did his best, and Jesse just couldn't do it. It was medically, at that point, not possible, or probable, whatever the word you want to use. And so we just had to keep moving forward. And so I was introduced to this company again. Like I said, they uplifted me, inspired me. And it was baby steps, like literally baby steps. And the first thing was to get myself out of bed, was to put one foot in front of the other. And that's where my hashtag life does begin again comes from. This is, I knew that I had to get out of bed. And luckily for me, years before I had gone to 12-step, I had put myself in treatment, did the 30 days, followed the 12 steps for a long time. And I truly believe that the 12 steps helps in everything. I don't care what it is. They help with everything. And whatever your belief is, AA is not about, it's about your spirituality. It's about what you believe in. And I believe the 12 steps really, really helped me also in this during this time, because I started using those steps to work with this company and be surrounded by this community to get myself into a different space, to get myself better. And it helped, like hugely helped. It literally saved my life. I can honestly say that. And so as I started feeling better and started to do all the things, just one thing went into another. And these lies that I kept telling myself about not being good enough, all these things, this community of people inspired me to start to believing in myself. And that the things that happened to me were really for me. And so we can keep going through all the cycle of lies and deception and beliefs. And we are the one, though, that is in charge, if that's the word you want to use, that we are in control. We are the ones that decide really which way we want to go. I mean, I could have went obviously a number of different ways, and I chose that I wanted to move forward. So I decided that I wanted to do a lot of different things. So one of the first things I did too was I knew I had to get away from all of the things. Like I had to get myself out of that, away from my old friends, away from everything. And I had to focus on really getting myself healthy. So I uprooted. I left my kids in Minnesota. They're adults. I left my kids. I went to Nashville. I lived in Nashville for almost 5 years. And then my daughter shows up with my little baby grandson at that time. He was 3 years old. And the other grandma showed up in 30 days. And I said to my daughter, I said, we can't do this. I go, we can't live here. I said, your son has a huge family that absolutely loves him. And we've got to go back to Minnesota so that he can be with family. And it was one of the best decisions that we could have made. And then we sold our house last year. And again, life has been changing, evolving, transforming, doing the thing. And then I moved to Florida. And I'm on a call one day, and I'm in a class. I'm in a class with Win on Repeat with the infamous Danelle Delgado. I freaking love this woman. She's been assisting me. And again, she's one of many, many people that have helped me get in, into where I am right now. But right now, this is this is the space though that I've really been really plugging in, learning the things, doing the things, all the things, right? So anyway, so I'm here in Florida and I'm on one of her calls, and she said, if you're not doing life, then what are you doing? And I said, oh my gosh, like my grandkids are my life and I miss them more than anything. And I couldn't figure out why I just couldn't stay motivated and couldn't get going. And it was a lie. I was telling myself that this is the place where I wanted to be and all the things. And no, it isn't. So another decision has been made. I'm moving back to Minnesota. I'm going to go freeze in the tundra so that I can be with my kids. So what lies are you telling yourself? That you're just doing okay, or you're just getting by, or whatever that is for you. And I decided that I'm going back. And then the other lie I've been telling myself, and really not a lie, but it's my fear. And I looked around and I'm like, man, for 4 months, I haven't really moved anywhere. Like I haven't really gone exploring or doing anything, because I am deathly afraid of bridges. And they are everywhere here. I didn't know that moving down here, and I found out really quickly. So I have a deep fear of bridges and big high. Like I've been in Texas too, and they have these huge big highways that are like big, like feel like I'm on a roller coaster. I'm deathly afraid of roller coasters too, and so I don't go anywhere because I'm afraid I'm going to run into a bridge, and I don't know how I'm going to get across the bridge. And I don't want to be the one facing my fear, going across the bridge and causing an accident, killing someone else or killing myself. And so I've stayed in my comfort zone right here. And I know that when I leave to go back to Minnesota, I have a really great friend that's actually flying down here, is going to drive me home. Because I don't want to drive. I don't want to get stuck by bridges, but I want to see other parts of Florida before I leave. And I just know that I've got to have somebody else do that. And help me get through the fears. And so Danelle was talking about the same things. Like she was super afraid of heights, and I'm also afraid of mountains. And I'll tell you a story about that. So when I was younger, we lived in Denver, Colorado. And again, this is how crazy my stepdad was. He would drive up in the mountains, and he would think it was really funny to take me and my brother and hold us over the freaking cliffs. And, I'm like, what? Like I was only like, how old was I? Like 5 or 6 at the time. I remember that to this day, because that's the fear that keeps me from wanting to go through the mountains. So I decided too, on my journey home, I want to go through Tennessee. I want to go through the mountains, and I want to experience that. And then we can stay in Nashville for a night like we've been planning, and then go on our journey back to Minnesota, right? So what is the fear? I've been telling myself, like, where's it come from? So I know where the root problem came from, but sometimes we don't always know where the root problem of our fear is coming from. So I highly encourage you to figure out what that is, find out what that is, and move into the next step on figuring that out and being able to move forward. So that was a lot, right? So I just wanted to tell you that through all of these things, and even know what my fears are now, there is always an antidote, right? So there's always a solution. There's always a way to get past it, to get through it. And the things that we know, now that we know, and that's the other thing too, what we know now is that we know we never unknow. Like now we know we can unlearn that. And so what can you do differently to change that? Wherever you're at in your life, whatever your situation is, whatever your life experience is, it is your choice to decide on which way you want to go. And the one thing that I know for sure now is, like, when I was growing up, we didn't have all the things. We didn't have, all of the apps on TV that we have now. We didn't have a little handheld computer in our hands. So you can find the answer to anything. It just ask the question and you'll find the answer. Or there's so many different groups you can get involved with. Facebook is hugely populated with all the people, all the things, all the places, it's international, it's global. So we can keep telling ourselves excuses, or we can find the solution, right? And so telling my kids, again, I would never tell my kids again, as a mom, I would never tell my kids again the lies that I was told, right, to save them. I would now have in my hands, like, okay, how can I do things different? What are the things that we can do to create a different, different thing, different events, different experiences for them? And so I highly encourage you to do that. So this is Shelly Jean. I'm here live every Saturday morning, 11 Eastern, and in 2 weeks, I'll be heading back to Minnesota. I'll be going back to Central Time. So be looking for that. and I really appreciate you being here with me today. Thank you so much. And I hope this was very helpful for you. You have a fantastic rest of your week. And I love you guys. And again, this is new to me, being on the computer. I'm usually on my phone. So we'll get this all figured out. Again, find the solution, right? Stop telling yourself the lies. Stop telling you the untruths. All right, and hashtag life does begin again, and I hope for you to have the best day ever. Bye now.